Trolling is among the most popular methods of fishing on the open ocean. The first question is often how many lures should be run? And Butch from Hobbietat is going to explain some of the basics.
A lot of guys will only run 4 because they run the 2 corners and then 2 long lines. If you got outriggers, they'll tend to run 5. It's what you feel more comfortable as far as running. I know some people run 9. If you can handle it and you got the crew that can handle it, obviously the more lures you can get in the water, theoretically the better your odds are. But if you're spending half your time untangling things, doesn't make any sense. Depending on what kind of fish we come across will determine the size of the lure, what kind of bait they're eating, so the color of the lure, and in certain positions, certain lures will run in a different pattern. So if we're trying to slow it down in really rough water, like today is very, very calm. So we're running stuff that has a little bit more action on surface movement. We'll stand here and we'll watch it and go downstairs and crank it in a little bit or let it out. That's where all those roller trollers and things, people like that because you don't have to take off the rubber band. You can make adjustments. We have 2 long riggers. There's really no wake. It runs in the clean water. Normally we set up that way for ahi. The center actually runs at the end of the white water of our boat here. And then the 2 corners, either third to 5th weight or 3rd to 6th weight, depending on your boat. But that's mainly, we try to position it so it stays right on the edge of the side of the white water, goes in and out of the white water.
One important detail is how the lures move on the waves trailing behind the boat.
Well, normally when the lure runs down the face, it'll tend to swim more. It'll give that's like it's scurrying away. Kind of like if you're baiting a mai-mai, you can see the mai-mai when it's coming up to a bait and it chases it. So it'll chase it and you'll see that ripple on the water. So we're trying to create that same lure to ripple type of action. So normally coming down the face, the lure will tend to ride on depending on the shape of the lure, it'll tend to ride on that face, and then it normally skitters down the face of the wave.
Also important is how fast to drag the lures.
We're normally run between 7.5 to 9 knots, so let's say 8 knots is a good speed. I don't know. It just depends on the boat and we've caught fish at 20 knots. So, and I know in the mainland, they troll for onos at 20 knots now, so big heavy lures, weighted down. But in general, you burn a lot of fuel at 20 knots. So that's usually out of the picture. So majority of the lures nowadays, I would say, is set up to run between 7 to 10 knots. So we're trying to target certain areas of the boat for it to bite. Doesn't always work out that way, but we sure do try.